Hello and welcome to Kels Big Picture podcast. Today we're talking with Amy Quitoranio, and she is the founder of Made Simply Nutrition. She's a mum of two and she has a fantastic background and amazing little life history that I think you're all looking for, or you'll all look forward to listening to. She's got some amazing sentiments and advice to share with everyone. Now, Amy is a former information management professional and was a librarian at the Darebin Libraries down in Melbourne. And she also has taken a bit of a different turn in life. And so she found a passion of hers and has dived into that area, which I'm super excited about. And I think it's a really brave move for someone to really step aside from a path that they were on and to follow their passion. So we're really excited to hear from you today, Amy. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Kelly.
That's no problem.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you. Now, we've had quite a few chats and I absolutely love your energy. So I know that everyone listening is going to have a great time listening to, all of the things that we chat about today. Now, I just wanted to ask you just to give a bit of a background as to sort of where you grew up, how you sort of came to be where you are today. You've had some big changes in your life.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So I'm originally from California. So my family are all from the US, so near San Francisco. So my mum and my sister came out to Australia. We actually came out to Fernley in 86 for a holiday, or 85 for a holiday for 6 months. And I went to Fernley Public School, and then my mum loved it so much here. It was such a quiet, very small place at the time. Went back to the US and then just really wanted to come back. So that's what we did. So from 87, I've lived in Australia. I've gone back to the US at different stages. I spent some time in San Francisco as an adult. I still have all my family there. So I do have a connection, but I did all my formative years, all my high schooling at Austinville High, and all my friends, and sort of created this friend family kind of group that I have here now. And now my husband and my children are all, it's my home now. It's where I identify with mostly now. Apart from my accent, which I still have, and I don't think I'll ever lose. So I'm happy with that. I've come to terms with that. And then, but I spent some time in Sydney studying. So I did my information management degree in Sydney, and then went to Melbourne. And I was in Victoria and Melbourne for 15 years before coming back up to the far north coast. So I've spent a little bit of time in various cities in Australia. I think I identified mostly with Melbourne, being very much like San Francisco in many ways, and climate-wise especially, in the northern part of California. So I loved it down there. But I always just kind of fantasized about coming back to the coast and coming back up here. So happy to be back. And family is closer here too, so it's lovely.
Those connections are what it's all about. And I think when you find your people, you find your home. And so it sounds to me like you've got two. You can travel over to San Fran where your family is, and you've got here as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, it is. The dual citizenship is such a privilege. And the kids, they're starting to really want to understand that connection. And Disneyland gets mentioned all the time. So, the land of Disneyland for a child is like, I'll be connected to that. Thank you. So it's nice. I do miss aspects of the US for sure. I think there's, it's an amazing country too. Australia's my home now.
Enjoying North Coast lifestyle.
Yeah, very much. It's been challenging lately. It's been a hard couple of years, and the last 6 months have been, very challenging. But I think it's a really good time to be here too as part of the community. It's a really good time to get involved and participate. So I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. And I'm really excited about where you're heading in terms of your Made Simply nutrition
Yes.
business. And so you've obviously got a passion. You're talking about, you know, contributing to the community. And I know that you're really excited about working with young people in particular, and you have a real passion for gut health as well. So do you want to just tell us a little bit more about that, why you're passionate about helping young people, particularly with their nutrition, and where gut health plays a role in that?
Sure. Yeah, so a little bit background with the kind of culinary aspect. So I've been in the kitchens and, you know, used to have this idea that I'd be a pastry chef, always wanted to be chefing from about the time I was 8. So I was always in the kitchen. It was kind of my thing. It was like a sanctuary of sorts. And I was allowed in there. I was just given kind of free reign, and I just, it made a lot of sense. It really clicked with me. So I've worked in kitchens and catering. I worked in the US in catering, and always involved in the food aspect, always thinking that maybe I'd have a food business. Even when I was a librarian working in libraries, you know, I did that qualification through university, but I was still connected to food and still sort of drawn to it. And when I was after having children that I realized, you know, there was much more to food than just, you know, French cooking and chocolate making and pastry and, you know, which I still really am drawn to. But I was really more concerned about health and well-being. And, you know, I did a lot of dieting, and I did a lot of experimental dieting with myself. And then as I kind of went through those processes and realized, you know, there's a lot of unhealthy aspects to those sort of behaviors and mindsets, and I really wanted to I really felt like I kept going back to food. I kept going back to that, but I had more of a health and wellness aspect to my approach now. And so going and doing the nutritionist qualification through Deakin University allowed me to kind of have a science-based background behind what I was learning about, and some real understanding and some legitimacy around it. And then that's sort of what led me to think, okay, well, yeah, like, where do I take this? How do I use what I've got, the skills I've got, you know, the passion for food, and Made Simply was something I kind of had been thinking about for a couple of years during COVID, and wanting to, and coming up to the coast and really needing to kind of forge your own path, you know, kind of create something a little for yourself. So, but my children really is the thing behind that, children and adolescents. And I really do think that having a foundation of an understanding and a passion for, you know, when people are young, when people are kind of growing, and when they're just learning about food and they're learning about health, and, you know, it's a real opportune time. Their minds are open. They're, you know, they're really kind of, they're getting a lot of messages now too. So, you know, I think one time my daughter was like, "Sugar's bad, Mom, sugar's evil." And I was like, "Whoa, hang on a second," you know, and when she was in kindergarten, and I was kind of, hang on, no, it's not. It's not evil. It's not bad. Let's talk about, you know, where did you hear that? So yeah, there was sort of this, they're getting a lot of information through, and I think cutting through and finding the truth in information coming to children and adolescents. And then hands-on, you know, I think for me, being in the kitchen, you know, just learning how to hold a knife, you know, learning about how to, you know, the different vegetables, the different things, you know, and this idea of eating the rainbow, you know, it's there's a lot of fun stuff out there now. And then as you go into adolescence, there's a lot more disordered eating. There's a lot more challenges in terms of body image, in terms of, you know, how, you know, the value that we place on our our outward appearance and our developing of self, and then also that how that health in that adolescent time is, you know, it's the foundation of health for the future. So our bone health and you know, all of how we will age and you know, kind of age well, kind of happens in those formative years. And that really was like a light bulb moment. And I was kind of like, okay, this is, you know, this is important. And we all, and teenagers, they eat less of what they're supposed to eat at those times, because, you know, they're part of that food that, that's not important. I want my fast food, and I want my, you know, soft drinks, and, you know, I want what tastes good and gives me that, you know, burst of of energy, but also the happy hormones, and
Yeah.
and they're becoming more independent. And I think that sense of allowing them to giving them the knowledge, helping them understand, and then giving them the opportunity to make those self decisions as well, because no, we're not all gonna get it right all the time.
No, and I think you're probably talking to a bunch of people here, and most of us at some point have probably been on that roller coaster in some way, shape, or form. And it's a struggle. And I think you mentioned mindset, and mindsets around food, and that does begin at such a young age. And I think that that's a really important connection to make. And then you also mentioned the impact of hormones on our health, not only just our physical health, but our mental health, and how food can impact all of that. So, I think it's a great and a really important message that you're working with, and that you want to get out there. And I'd love to hear just a little bit more actually about how you feel, or your thoughts on gut health and mindset and mental health.
Yeah, so I've been doing a little research and doing a little reading and exploration in the gut health environment, and it's in terms of the studies that they're doing and the research that they're doing. It's it's like right at the beginning of kind of really understanding, but it's so there's so much opportunity there to really understand how everything kind of connects in terms of our nervous system, our absorption, our outlook. It's just this plethora of information to kind of weed through. But I think that a lot of it, there's some real consistency as well. So it's about variety, in your food intake. It's about your dietary fiber to improve and create your gut microbiota, the flora in your gut, to get all those good microbes. We've come through COVID, so we've got a lot of killing of bugs. We're trying to get rid of the bad bugs, but in that process, you get rid of a lot of the good bugs. There's the medicinal stuff that we put when we get sick. I can't think of the name. Antibiotics, that's it. Thank you. So those sort of take away all that. So we're kind of trying to improve and find this encouraging of these good bacteria, and how we can do that through food. And there's some really basic things, and many people do it already. We eat good yogurts. People are starting to have some kombucha in their diets, and they're and that's another debatable issue as well. But I think I'm a big fan of kombucha, because as a person who was really addicted to soda drinks and Coca-Cola in particular, being in hospitality, it's pretty much a staple in your diet. And I don't know if you want to call it a diet, but it's pretty much a staple besides coffee. And and so trying to wean yourself off of sugar, it's really good to have some alternatives, because you still want to enjoy your life. You still want to enjoy the things and feel and help your brain have those moments of feeling satiated. And so with the gut health, I find that your immunity improving, and all of this stuff with COVID at the moment too, the connection to immunity, your sleep, your hormones, just the autoimmune connection too at the moment. Like there's so much there. And I think but it can be very simple too. I think, apart from not wanting to scare people with all of the different ideas and all the different research and stuff, but there are just really simple things and a simple understanding that can be gained through it. And it's a very family friendly too thing, incorporating foods and stuff. It would improve the health of kids so much to have that. And I know there's a lot of research connected to ADHD and behavioral issues as well. So, and I'm actually looking at, when you mentioned hormones, I know I didn't specifically say it, but I'm actually looking at perimenopausal reading, doing a bit of reading in that regard, even though it's not an area that I like. It's so dense. It's an area I'd like to investigate further, so I have a better understanding, and then I can help. But also for my own self going into that time.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that hormone connection, I think it's it's a very important process. And I think the perimenopausal thing as well is something that is very under discussed between women, for women. And I think that now we are much more open, these platforms about talking about these things.
Mm.
And yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think, you've just sort of hit the nail on the head with, there is so much information out there, even our kids are taking home sugar's bad, but, there are alternatives. And it's really difficult to sift through everything that we're exposed to and finding what works. And so that's what I think is really great about what you do, because you are an avid researcher. You love to find out the nitty gritties and then try to make it simple for everyone. And life's difficult enough, and if we can make it simple, I think that's amazing. Yeah.
And accessible,
Yeah.
I'm not one for trying to find like the rarest sort of things or go to the specialty places. You've got to make it fit in with your family life. People are busy, time poor, households where they're single parent or both parents working, or whatever the arrangement may be. And I think that it's got to be cost effective as well. And I just and I think things that some people, one thing is looking at labels and kind of identifying one or two things that you realize maybe you could remove from the diet or remove from the products that you're buying, so that you're choosing things, and so you're just more aware of what's on the shelf at the supermarket. And it's not doing much, but it's something to help and may improve your health and well-being, or your sleeping, or whatever it is that the issues might be.
Yeah, no, I'm all for taking the small steps, because I think health and well-being for a lot of people can be really huge and overwhelming. And because there are lots of little things that you can do, it all becomes so much. We're sport for choice in some way. And so, give it, honing in on one or two things that you can do in whatever particular area, and just make sure you do them, is a really great way of making some big changes in your life. And then the more you do it, the more a part of your life it becomes, and it becomes a lifestyle choice then, as opposed to a diet choice or an exercise choice. And then life becomes simple. Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah. And again, like that sort of denial aspect of things, it's not something to deny yourself things. And I think once that starts happening, it does send the brain into a bit of a spiral, whether you're trying to eliminate certain things or, but just doing one or two changes can just make you feel like everything else is still operating as normal. You're still doing, you're doing the things that you want to be doing and enjoying the life you want to be enjoying. And, but just some little tweaking, it can make a huge difference. I mean, I've done some drastic changes. I've eliminated sugar for a year. I gave up yeast and certain products as well, like wheat products and stuff, for a year. I've guinea pigged myself in that way. And I think what I found was that there was this real brain connection, and doing that can actually upset your gut. So taking drastic changes, eliminating diets, jumping onto a keto diet, jumping into these very restrictive things can actually alter your gut health, and therefore your brain activity, your just your brain function and thought process can be altered so much. So it's a real, you don't want to be drastic in your changes. And I think you want to do it in a way that, is just kind of a slow burn. Yeah. And it's, much more about the wellness aspect too.
Yeah, and I love that you can speak from experience. Like you said, you have guinea pigged yourself, and you've sort of been in at different times in your life, through different things that have really impacted the way that you approach, choices to what you're going to have in your diet, mindsets, and that sort of stuff. And I think that's really great that people can know that you've got all that experience behind you as well.
Yeah. Well, I think I was very culturally aware, and so when Friends came out and all the girls on Friends gave up, that was that time when, what was it? Wheat and, carbs were bad, and these really thin Jennifer Anistons and, everyone started to very, very svelte and even a bit emaciated, and, and there was this thought, and you see that reflection, and you think that that's what you should be doing, and without really much kind of thought behind it. I think, there's this there's this idea of diet culture that sort of, yeah, influences. So I think that's a lot of why I was kind of influenced by different things. And then when I started to realize, oh, my body can change, but there's certain aspects that weren't very positive that came from that. A lot of obsessive behavior and a lot of obsessive thinking, and always being very analytical without not being able to enjoy the moment that you're in, or the people that you're with, or the meal that you're having, because you're constantly worried and thinking. And then so it's that mindfulness aspect coming to being present, being able to enjoy, having the right mindset. Yeah, that's what I, through a process, realized. But yeah, I think I was a bit punishing, really. I think I punished myself a little too much, but I don't think I'm alone in that.
No,
yeah, and I think it will continue. Yeah.
And what I love is that you're sharing the experiences so that people maybe won't go down that road themselves.
I
And I
hope
think
so.
that's really important. Yeah, and you mentioned the influence of role models, and we do. There's so much out there in terms of one, information, but two, we're looking at celebrities or even people in our own local environment, and that they can be our role models as well. And it's choosing the right role model, isn't it? And that can be the tricky thing. So I'd love to know if you had any role models, or have any role models at the moment, or as a kid, someone who maybe influenced you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, I tried to think about the role model kind of idea, and I don't really have, I mean, I had a lot of people in my life that I think there was little moments of information, or times when something came through and someone would say something, and it would click with me, and then I would keep that in my mindset. I think I hung on to certain information. And there was one time when someone, I think when I was in high school, I did a drama because it was really, I thought I was going to be an actor, a thespian, wanted to go to NIDA and all that sort of stuff. And that was a brief period. Anyway, and so someone said, I think the teacher, it was actually in Lismore at NOPA, and they said, a good actor is a person who can observe. And I remember that, and so I think what I did is, for the people that were important in my life, so someone like my mom or my dad at different times, or we had a family friend who was kind of my chefing influence in high school, and I think I just spent a lot of time observing. I spent a lot of time understanding what motivated people, what it was to be that, what it was to be doing what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I think I had ability to emulate, so I was like, okay, I'll take that, and that kind of thing. Yeah. I think now, I think I'm not sure that I have role models as such, but I do follow a few people on, it's like one in particular at the moment, which is Viola Davis. Davis, the actress, she's got this Instagram page. It's so uplifting. Yeah. She talks about, coming through mental health issues. She posts these things, and it's someone that I actually go on and actually look for her posts. Yeah. And her story, the trauma that she went through as a young person, to come through all that, to be, a beautiful, talented African-American woman. Like, I just think it's, yeah, I read, there's something about what I see from that person coming through that I just really, especially in that environment of Instagram. And so, the kind of narcissistic aspect of Instagram can be overwhelming, but I mean, I use it myself. So I'm, I don't damn it completely. I think it's an amazing and powerful tool. It's an amazing, powerful, kind of, opportunity to connect with people or have an access to people in a way that we've just never been able to do. And I think, yeah, I got a lot of cooking role models. I follow a lot of cooking things.
Who's your number one person that you recommend people to follow on Instagram in relation to cooking? Where they're going to get some really great.
I don't think I should. They're all pastry people, and
okay.
I do have. I think one of the other things I do a lot is I listen to TED Talks a lot.
Yes.
Particularly science-based kind of TED Talks, like nutrition based. There was one, I will say, there's a podcast by, I can't think, she's an American nutritionist, and she's actually a dietitian and nutritionist, and Paige Smathers, and her podcast is called Health Matters. And she actually stopped it. She no longer does it, but she consults and she does a few things. And she has actually some online like resources and programs that people can do. And especially for people who are dietitians as well, to help them. And she's very much about intuitive eating. So she's a major supporter of intuitive eating. She's interviewed the founders of the intuitive eating movement, and I got a lot from that. I listened to that when I was doing my studies, and I go back to it. So that's Paige Matters is probably my other one. It's nice to hear an American voice too.
Brings you home. No, it's I love asking those sorts of questions, because we all follow different people and we get so much, and it's really nice just to have a recommendation. So it's great. Thank you for recommending Paige. And that you mentioned that she was all about intuitive eating and nutrition, and intuition is something that in Big Picture Health we encourage people to delve into, because I think we live such a busy life that we forget to listen to what our body or what our mind or what our heart or our gut is actually telling us. And so the way we approach exercise, nutrition, mindset is very much based in that space. So I'd love to know maybe just your interpretation of intuition, and how it might have influenced you in some place in your life, maybe a time where you've been able to just follow your gut, follow that instinct, and maybe it's been a good or a bad, but how did that roll out for you?
Kelly, I think it's amazing that you say it like that, because I don't think there's ever been a time that I haven't listened to my intuition. I think that, I also, from a young age, realized that there are no right or wrong decisions. There's just a decision made at that point, and don't live with regret. So, don't, like, even if you find, even if you go through the process and you come through and you're like, oh my gosh, but it's like, no, you made a decision at that point, and you had to move forward. And I think all of those moments have always been about my gut. It's weird. It's like that whole idea of gut and intuition. But I strongly believe that if tapping into it, I talk to the universe. I ask the universe for things, and I've had it answered. So I don't know if it's just like this, that idea that you manifest, your destiny, that you create something and then it happens for you, or you're just open and receptive to things. And you see things at particular moments and you're ready for it. I haven't always been ready for them, but I think that your gut just, it's everything. It's kind of, deciding to go backpacking overseas on your own, in 2018, or, going and, saying yes to a catering job that you did that you just never done before. And it's like, no, I think, it's like, no, my gut tells me this is the right thing to do. This is a good decision. I think they can be scary too. It's not like you're 100% sure, but I think sometimes you have to back yourself, and there's a little bit of that goes in with intuition as well. There's a little bit of that self-belief, and fear sometimes can be a good motivator. Not that you let it drive you, but that scary is sometimes okay, and it's worth it. It's like kind of today, being nervous and being like, little sweaty palms and stuff. It's like, because it matters, because it's it's important, but that doesn't stop you. And my gut tells me, no, this is right. This is good.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I love everything that you just said there. I connect with that on so many levels. And, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. And, it's a bit of a catch cry, and you'll see it all over the place. I certainly believe that is true. And
it's different for everybody. Everybody's uncomfortable is different, and it'll appear and be different. And so, I think that really understanding of one's self and comfort zone is part of the process, so that they can recognize it. You kind of acknowledge it, and then you recognize it when it's happening in the future, and you can develop the ways to come through those moments.
Yeah, excellent. And
Mm.
then, so you've just mentioned, making your way through a challenging time, because, if we are getting uncomfortable, sometimes we are challenging ourselves, and that's where real growth occurs anyway. And I'd love to know just, your thoughts on how do you get through those rough patches, or where, can you think of a time in your life where you've been really had to sort of draw on your resilience or raise your resilience so that you can get through a really challenging time? And what did you do? So just some things that people might grab onto and think, oh, that might work for me. And how did it pan out?
I think sometimes when life throws you something where you've never fully experienced, like for me it was like a grief moment. It was like something that happened that was, it was so like heart crushing and devastating, and it changed the trajectory of my life, my partner's life, our future, like where we were heading, what we thought was happening. And then I was never the same. And so I think that when those moments happen, if you're on your own, I can't speak to that. Like, I think that hopefully you've got a someone. I think hopefully you've got a person in your life that trusts you, that knows you, that you feel so comfortable and safe just getting to that lowest point that you could possibly get to. And I think having those people in one's life is really important. If you don't have those people in your life, then I think reaching out is so important to get help. If talk to someone, find someone. And I think for me it was focusing on all that we gained, not what we lost. So I think that all of the joy of what it was and where we were going, and realizing that it was still, for us, it was about having a family. It was still what we wanted. It was it was still an amazing thing, and that we were going to get through it. But I think those were the moments that we talking about it over and over again. I must admit, talking about it. And I remember that because I've had, I've been through counseling processes and stuff as well. And it was like, the more you talk about something, the easier it is. But it's a hard process to do that. But I think through practice from my childhood, I was able to kind of do that. So I kind of offloaded on probably, I was just like, and I'm a talker anyway. So I think that was, for me, it was a natural place to come to. If you're not a talker, it's gonna, obviously it might not be as easy for you. My husband's not a talker. So I think for him, he got very physical, he got very constructive, and he built things and he made things, and and he focused himself into a task. So whether either of those two speak to people, I think that, I think being able to be mindful of what's happening, really feel it hurt. It physically hurt. And I didn't deny that. We didn't deny that. And it always will. And I think that's the thing. It doesn't stop, but you learn to live with, and hopefully at the down times, then you can learn to understand how to get through those times too. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being so vulnerable. I can see exactly what you're talking about and the emotion that you feel. And and I think a lot of us, we all deal with our struggles in different ways, and it's finding what really works for you. And I totally agree with, if you're able to let it out, let it out. I have definitely been in the past someone to hold it in, and that certainly doesn't do you any good. And I've also, I've chatted with people too, professionals at various points, just because I think it's really important for us to just be accepting of the fact that we are not Superman or Superwoman, and we do feel, and it's okay to have those emotions. And if the right person is a professional, then that's okay too. The right person might be your partner or a best friend, but sometimes it's important to be okay with accepting, that help. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a very big advocate of, mental health support services, like being counselors, psychiatrists. Like I don't have the stigma around it. I think life is really challenging.
Mm.
And I think people go through so much trauma at different stages. And, and I just, it's hard to talk to your friends and family about things. It's hard to admit to things that maybe you don't even know. You can't even admit to, and you're not, and there's these things or blocks or, and sometimes people get it through, their gym instructors or, the people or their friends or their group activities, their sports groups or whatever it is that they have. But I think sometimes it's still, there's still a need to kind of deep get into things more.
Yeah.
And and it's an area I think now which is being promoted.
Yes.
It's an area which is no longer, it seems like a good time to be getting that help, because it's an awareness now that is accepting
Yes.
of that. And I think that that's really important, and particularly for kids as well, for with having burgeoning teenagers, a teen, and like things at the moment with raising a family. I think that again there's still opportunities there that can help.
Yeah. And we're talking about approaching professionals for assistance, and there are, we all have our niche area. We all have something that we're really, really good at, but I admit that, and this is where we sort of connected was, there are times when nutrition isn't my forte, and so being able to refer to someone who has that expertise, or find that someone, I think that's really good. And being able to sort of grow your networks in those areas is great. And if you are struggling in one area, there's nothing wrong with going to see a person for that to help you out, and they might be able to help you with something else or send you to the right person as well. And I think that's a really healthy way of living. And I'm just being really open to all the information that's there for you, and working out what works for you is a great choice.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes it is a little bit of it's an individual thing. When we talk about diets and when we talk about nutrition, it's hard to make it the same for everybody. There is a baseline. There's the Australian dietary guidelines. In my profession, there's certain tools that are kind of, this is your baseline, this is what works. But there's just this undulating variation of people with their different lives, how they work, how they live, their cultural background, what's significant to them, that needs to be kind of worked in. And then when if someone gets a diagnosis, or they're being told that they have markers that could lead to chronic illness, or then it becomes something that's very individual. And so they seeking help and getting one-on-one, and it doesn't have to be ongoing. It can just set you on a path. You may already have the skills and not even realize that. You just need to actually work it out and say, is this right? Am I doing the right thing? And you're like, actually, yeah, you are. You're on the right path. Or actually maybe think about doing a little bit more of this, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I had a friend, my father-in-law, who had a stent put in, and and had that kind of moment of being like, oh, okay, so I should really look at my diet. And so we sat down and we went through different things, and he was like, it was amazing. He had all the information there, and I was just kind of, yep, that's right. Yeah. Maybe look at this, and have you thought about this eating plan, like where you reduce all, like salt, being a major issue for anyone with hypertension. So yeah, and again, it was one of those moments where it was, and then that person went off and very capable. Didn't need me anymore. But then I also knew what to make for family dinners in future. So.
But as a professional, like a health professional, that is ultimately your goal, though, isn't it? You're not seeing someone to create a lifelong dependency in any way. It's all about helping people, find what works for them, and so that they can go off. And when they do go out into the real, into the world and live their life in a healthy way without your help, but with your advice, that's often the most exciting thing.
And vice versa for you, Cal. It's that thing of, I'm not I'm not aware of all of the information outside of, because there's just so much, you know, and sports nutrition was an area that I could have kind of gone into in my studies. And I realized, actually, I don't think that's not my strong suit. And I think there's others of, you know, that's their path, that's what they want. And it's the same thing, you know, people wanting to incorporate exercise and wellness and things. It's like, I've got the person for you. You know, and that's how, it's lovely to grow a community. It's really nice to be a part of something.
Yeah, amazing. So is there any part of your journey at the moment, your life journey, whether it be with Made Simply Nutrition or outside of that, that you'd really like to explore further?
I think for me, I'm looking at a couple of things. One of the thing is I have a source that I really want to get up and running. So I have a friend who is on dialysis, and so but then also I have a person who also has an autoimmune condition. And so I have this, you know, sauce in mind that's basically, it's called a no-mato sauce. So it's like a no tomato based sauce for, you know, because I mean, pasta sauce is like the staple of a family's diet, of just so many kind of, you know, easy to like go to menu options. And so I do have something that I would really like to try and get bottled and promoted and sold. So I'm working on that, but then I'm also kind of thinking about programs. I'm also thinking about sort of how I can look at kind of one-on-one or group sessions with children and adolescents in terms of food prep, in terms of, you know, using knives, you know, talking about nutrition, kind of, you know, listening in like all their crazy questions that they may have, and, you know, talking about farts, you know, talking about body move, you know, body things, you know, talking about the things that like, just, you know, making it fun. But so I'm working on that kind of thing. I'm looking at that avenue. I went to, in Melbourne, I went at Federation Square. They had a little food market. So they had this, it was through Vic Health. And they basically had a little food market set up, and it was all for children. And it was all for kids. And it was wonderful. And I was like, I think that would be great. At one of the markets, you know, on a Sunday or Saturday, I think, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe once a year or something, and getting a few food stall people and getting some cooking demonstration. And like, I just think for me, it's trying to figure out how I can make it very hands-on, because my approach is to be in the kitchen. I'm always in the kitchen. So that's, you know, and I figure it's like, it can be so scary for some people. And you might find this, you know, person who's never really been in the kitchen, or a young person who's like, has this idea like I did, like, I want to be a chef. You know, I watch MasterChef. I want to know how to make a blanche and the foam and the whatever, you know. But I think that's where I kind of look at, is about that, you know, hands-on meal prep and creativity around food. And then with the gut health thing, so more so looking at, you know, your fermentation. So looking at creating your ferments. I do sourdough. So I do have, it is one of my my passions. It always has been, ever coming from San Francisco with San Francisco sourdough.
Or it was cool. I love that.
Well, I mean, I must admit, I tried in Melbourne a couple of times, and it's so cold down there. It was really hard to get my starter going. So when I came up to the front of the coast, I was like, whoa, this is some activity. I've had some major flops, and I've learned so much. And I think that's the thing. It's like, hopefully I'm doing a lot of the legwork and taking, because it came out that it was so, you know, it was deceptively simple sourdough. It's a 3-day process, and it takes a little bit of kind of negotiation, but and time, but it can be very rewarding. So and I'd love to share that as well. So there's a lot there. I don't know that was actually very succinct and dot point, but I've again, I get a lot of ideas.
Yeah, no.
So,
Well, I'm excited. I've got lots of ideas and things that we're going to work
yeah,
into the future, and I'm so
yeah,
excited about where we're going to take this together. So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think anyone listening to this, if they heard one little bit inside of everything that you've just said, then,
yes,
and they want to, you know, have a part of that in some way, we'll certainly be able to help them out. And
yeah,
so yeah, that's really, really exciting.
yeah.
Now, one last thing, you are a busy mum of two. You've got your business happening there, and I'd love to know, how do you rise above the daily grind? What is it that you do that gets you through your day? Do you have like a little routine, or is there something that you rely on in your day that is the thing that just helps you, you know, keep it together and make sure that you are pushing yourself into that little bit of discomfort or moving towards your goals?
Yeah, I think for me, I tend to I'm not very routine orientated, so that's my goal, is to really place some limitations. I'm trying to learn to efficiency, and really start to just, when I think of something, just do it. Don't procrastinate, just get it done. Lists are amazing. Having the list, having a kind of, okay, this is what needs to be done. I find that yeah, I can't keep it all up in here anymore, whether I ever did it really, but yeah, I need to have that. I really, I need to, for me at the moment, I've had some physical issues that have, stopped me from doing a lot of exercise and stuff. But I think incorporating, my yoga, a daily yoga. I love getting up really early and doing that when the house is quiet, if I can, I'm working on my sleep so that I can get up early, so I can, because I've from being in hospitality, night owls, working till 2 o'clock in the morning, sleeping until 10, 11, and then getting up and doing it all again. It did set a pattern. There was a pattern there. And even through university, I worked in hospitality. So I think that there are some habits, I think it's about breaking habits, and it's about being mindful to put in the new habits. So with my new business, that's what I'm really focused on, is like optimizing my time, trying to keep a hold on the kids' activities, all their movements, and yeah, I think for me, it's about a little bit of self-care. I do like having a bit of a music moment and a bit of a dance when I need it. That's my kind of go-to,
You're not
actually.
alone there.
I put something on in the car. I don't know if the kids are really up for it, but every now and then it's a little, I have to kind of just have a good sing along, or, a bit of a dance, and yeah, and just, and find the joy. I think find some humor, lighten things up a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I love that you have just placed in there that connection of joy, humor, and self-care, because I think that's a really great connection. So often we become so focused on self-care being this deep and meaningful process we've got to really internalize, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Something that fuels your soul, something that makes you feel good, is as good as self-care as anything. And so
I think yoga is the only, like, I did mindfulness during lockdown, because it really helped, just those like 3 minutes from Smiling Mind, a little bit of the sleep stuff. I found that I needed that, but afterwards I don't think I had maybe the time or the headspace. Everything kind of goes back, and it's like you're not really there anymore. And so I think with the yoga or the Pilates or whatever it is, there's just that moment, those times again, to just be a little still, a little, focus on the breathing, just center a little bit, and I think it doesn't always have to be a dedicated moment. It can be in the moments that you're doing the other things that you're doing, and that's what I've tried to think about more, so I don't, again, feel like I'm denying myself something, or, oh gosh, I haven't done that, or I'm not punishing myself for really, not allowing there to be this carved out moment, but because carved out moments don't always come. So yeah, being adaptable and trying to be a bit creative with it, and and if it is a loud sing along, I figure it's all good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that because that's exactly what big picture health is. And, that's where we try and, we're looking at time blocking and picking out moments in your day where you can, give yourself that moment, or just being present, and in what it is that you're doing. And it doesn't have to go for a long period of time, but making sure that you're really paying attention and being in that space in time so that you can get the benefit from it and not let it pass you by. And that's really, really important.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I think at the moment as mentioned to you, we're doing our garden. So I've planted some little veggies and I've planted some flowers, and I go out there and, with my cup of coffee in the morning, and I spend a little bit of time just looking and just watching things grow. And and I am at that stage where I'm in my garden looking at things grow, and there might be some loud music playing and maybe I'll have a little bit of a dance or something in the garden. But I think that's, again, it's it could be pots on a balcony, it could be walking on the beach, or going around the block and looking at other people's gardens. I think I think there's opportunities, just to take the time, and just celebrate the joy of what's around you sometimes. And then also, I think when you're not feeling it, it's nice.
Yes.
When you do feel down, but doing the things that you still did, feeling that when you're feeling it, I think is really important too. Because being low and down is, again, part of the being up and okay. Yeah.
No, I love that too, because not life isn't always sky high. It's all undulating no matter what we do, and knowing how to help ourselves balance all of that out is really important.
That's right. And I think having, with having kids around, you see how, it's a reflection of so much of who we are and how we are, and recognizing that, that's what's going to happen, and so, working through that is, seeing it in others is, recognizing it for ourselves. So,
Fantastic. All right. Now we're just going to finish off now. I've got some quick questions for you, and I'd love for you to fire back an answer, that sort of pops into your mind.
Yeah, okay.
And we'll roll with it from there. Are you okay with that?
It's like one of those, like, say the first word that comes into your mind. So, okay.
One word, one sentence. No, I won't make rules. rules.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So, what's your favorite travel destination or your perfect holiday?
My travel destination. Oh, is it? It was Italy. It's probably, apart from the US, it's the only place I went to twice.
Oh, wow.
So Cinque Terre and Florence. I think when I was backpacking at 20, and I just walking on my own on my own with music in my ears, and I don't think I'd ever seen anything so old. Coming from Australia and America, like this, and this idea of Europe, I was just always so romantic, and I was really into Shakespeare, and I was really kind of in love with all this sort of romantic kind of notions, and that's for me. That was beautiful. I do. I have visions of Greece in my future, but but I've never been there. So, but at the moment, like, for me personally, indulgent, like, that's my memory. That's where I go to. I think for me, but with my kids, and my family now, it's just anywhere they are, like anywhere where some of the devices aren't on, and I have this real desire to go camping. I just just simple right now. It's just being out.
Yes. No, we did some camping just over the recent holidays, and it was just no devices, so fantastic. And outside, beautiful weather, amazing. Perfect. Alrighty. So if you get 10 minutes to yourself, what is your favorite thing to do?
Roller skating.
Love it.
So I started roller skating with Sierra. When I turned 40, I bought roller skates. So I got the beautiful suede Moxie skates for my birthday. And I thought I was going to do roller derby. And we started going to what's called Star Act classes. So you go to the roller rink. There's only a few left in Melbourne. Like, there used to be 72 and now there's 12 or something. And so we used to go to this place, and there's these actual what do they call figure roller skaters, teachers, champions that were teaching us. And as I started to kind of learn this sort of, much more figure skating style, I was like, oh, I think this is great. And then there was the roller dance that kind of, and now it's everywhere. Now it's a big craze since, since thing. So I haven't really been on my skates much, but that's where I want it because of my injuries. But that's where just going, being some sort of in a car park or in the garage, trying to like not fall over and break myself. But it's fun. I think it's a childhood thing.
Bringing back to fun, I think, is a really good thing. There's nothing wrong with just following whatever makes you feel joyful. And if it's skateboarding, roller skating, surfing, walking the dog, whatever it is, go.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be as life challenging as roller skating physically. But I think for me. And then I'm hoping swimming is my next kind of thing I want to try to incorporate. Is to do some regular swimming, regular kind of pool activity. And that is about health and wellness for me. That is about this physical kind of improvement.
Fantastic. So if you could have 10 minutes in your past, so if you could travel back in time for 10 minutes, who would you see or where would you go?
Yes, I would visit the people that were sick and I didn't get to say goodbye to, or I would probably spend a little bit more time, I guess, thinking of others. I think for me, sometimes, getting caught up so much in one's own life can just be where you're at. And I don't regret or think, it was such a bad thing, but I reflected on that, and that's what I would do. I would just, there's some people who are no longer with me and in my life now who I just would have said to my younger self, just always make that call when you think of that person and you think, oh, I need to call that person. It's like, just do it. Just do it. I think that's what I would do. That's, for me, that would, that's awesome. Where I'm at.
Okay, fantastic. Now, if you could give your 16-year-old self some advice, what would that be?
Ask more questions. Don't assume you know everything. Don't assume that, it's so good that you have to be self-sufficient. At 16, I had to be very self-sufficient, and, you need to believe in yourself and all that, those positive things. But I think asking questions, acknowledging that you don't know everything, acknowledging that people have something to offer you. And if you ask, you never know what's gonna appear to you or what someone's gonna say to you, particularly I think with my education and my understanding of where I'm at now and where I always wanted to be is kind of, even though my path led me to here now. So again, I have no regrets. But I think that if I'd had if I just sort of asked some more questions and thought a bit more about things in a much more you tell me kind of situation. Because people really like to share. And it's
fantastic.
So I hope that I think I'm still learning that though, Kelly. I think I'm still.
That's one of those life lessons that it comes and goes, isn't it? You have those moments of clarity where you think, no, sit back and ask or listen, and then times where you go, oh no, I got this. And
Exactly. I'm still learning that one.
And the great thing is where if you're aware of that, and we all take on the advice that we're lifelong learners, we don't know everything. I think that's really important too.
And I will say, actually, one thing I'm just thinking now is to cherish the relationships that you have with your friends, like my girlfriends who I have now since I was in year 7. I think that even though there was rocky times and it was hard work, and it is sometimes hard work, because everyone's lives go in different directions in different cities. I think keeping contact with people.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing I would say, is that, don't let the good relationships go, and work through the problems that you may have in the future.
Yeah.
Because they're so important. And I don't think I wouldn't be here today without my girlfriends. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I could tell a lot of my 16-year-old self a lot of things, I think.
Yeah, I could spend some good time with my 16-year-old self. Definitely.
Yeah. Not that I want to go back to being 16, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I know some people would.
Yeah. Well, it's horses for courses, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, a lucky last question.
Okay.
What would be your theme song for life? If you had a theme song that you think kind of wraps up, how you feel about life or yourself, what would it be? It's a hard question.
It is a hard question. Yeah, I think, again, in the same way that, like when I was sort of describing how I put on a song and I go crazy, there's a couple of songs that have done that. Yeah. But I think it's very much about getting up and getting moving, getting dancing. Like so one is the Prince song, Let's Go Crazy.
Yeah.
So like that, I've told my husband that should be at my funeral, and he doesn't think that that's such a good idea. But I honestly think that there was a period of time where the song came on, and it was just like, yes, let's do this. And there's a couple of songs like that. And I do think that sometimes life is crazy, and and sometimes being a little crazy, being a little bold, being a little left of center, being a little bit odd, which, having the experience to come into Australia, growing up the way I did, being a little different, we were very much in a small school, we stood out very much. And so eyes were always on you. As soon as I open my mouth, eyes are on me, questions about where I come from, how long I've been in Australia. I get those daily. Yeah. And so you start to kind of recognize that maybe I'm a little different. Maybe I'm a little, not quite like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think working through that, but yeah, so when I hear things that get me moving, that get me, yes, I'm a, I think, yeah, like, let's get a little fun. Let's get a little crazy. Let's not be so serious about everything. Life is really colorful. And I think for me, it reminds me. So when I hear a song like Let's Go Crazy, there's a Foo Fighters song that I've taught to my son, and now he's obsessed. And it's one of those ones that kind of gets you up and dancing. So I think for me,
fantastic.
Yeah.
So good. Oh, well, look, Amy, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to share your passion and your energy. And I'm excited to be working with you again some more in the future. And so stay tuned. We'll let everyone know a little bit more about that as well. And just if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, so there is my email, so amy@madesimplynutrition.com.au. That has all my contact details on it. So, that is my email address. And then my website is madesimplynutrition.com.au website. So I'm on there. There's a little bit of information about me. There's a little bit of information about the things I offer. So it's a good starting point. So if you don't want to contact me directly, you can just go onto the website, have a look. And then, there's my mobile numbers on there too. You can give me a call or send me a text. I'm happy either way. Or if you just have a question and, want to know whether it's a good fit. So I do offer a consultation. So I do offer a free, 15-minute call. So they can call me, or email me their details, and I can call them, whatever works, just to see whether it works, see whether what I offer is going to be suitable for them, or do they need to see a dietitian, or do they need to, kind of have more of a diagnostic approach to their health. So it's a good way of just, it doesn't cost anything. There's no kind of fee in that regard.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure you'll be hearing from people, and I will be in touch with you in the future for sure.
Yeah, thank you
And
so much, Kelly. This was
no,
really
that's all right. No, I've had an absolutely wonderful chat with you today, and I can't wait for everyone to hear and listen. And I hope we hear from you guys. So if you've had a great time listening today, make sure you let us know, and we will catch up with you again on Kel's Big Picture podcast very soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.